Why are so many people still trying to move to the United States in 2025 with as crazy and chaotic as it has been? Isn't it a hostile place? Isn't it a place overwrought with danger for foreigners? Isn't it hostile to migrants? I think that this is a very complicated question, and a lot of Americans don't really understand why people come to America. When we ask ourselves why they would, especially in a time now when we're talking to other Americans, the thought is always people are here to pursue freedom. People are here for the ideas, the ideals of America, what it's supposed to be, what it stands for. And is that actually why they're here? Over the past few days, I traveled to Washington, D.C., a place I've spent many years in my life, to pick up a few family members who flew in from Turkey. And I toured them around the city. Washington, D.C. being the capital of America, and a place of countless monuments that attest to the greatness of this country. But is it actually great? Most of us in America now understand that this nation is slipping from the high pedestal that it once stood into somewhere dark. But seeing Washington, D.C. through the eyes of an immigrant really made me question, is that allure of America still there for those who wish to come here? Is it worth the journey to try it in America, to try to reach that American dream? And watching that sense of awe in immigrant eyes as they look at these monuments, things that they've only seen in movies, really made me understand that the American dream isn't the property of Americans anymore. The American dream is the property of migrants. Watching how these people reacted to the monuments as we went by and the stories of the history that I told them, I was able to see that kind of awe in their eyes that I felt as a child the first time I saw the monuments, when I walked through the Smithsonian's. Understanding, feeling what America is meant to be, what it's supposed to be, is something that's lost on us in America now. There's no going back to a past that really never existed. There's only being in the now, in the America as we know it, in the beautiful side of America. The America of possibility, the America of dreams, really only exist in the eyes of migrants now. This is something I've come to understand over the years living with and talking to migrants, and even being a migrant myself in other countries. People from America are jaded by America, and it's easy to understand why. With the chaos that we have around us, whether it's high crime, whether it's cost of living, whether it's the political turmoil that we're faced to interact with and deal with and understand and try to understand every day, it's easy for us to look at this country and say, it's not good, it's not great. But if you ask someone from abroad, a foreigner, a migrant, who wishes to come here, why they want to come to America, because it may seem crazy to us to risk everything to come to a place that you're told is going to hate you. Why would you still come here? Ask a migrant. Ask someone who's from another country. America is still a dream. It is a dream and a promise of possibility that people from all over the world would risk their lives to attain. There is still greatness to America for those who wish to pursue it. It's still attainable for some. And it's at the scale of attaining this dream that we can see it fulfilled, or we can see it become a nightmare. The fact is, the vast majority of the world are poor. If you're born in America, you're rich. Anywhere you travel to in the world, you're going to be seen as a rich person, for the most part. 99% of the world, if you're an American and you show up, they think that you're wealthy. And that's because you probably are wealthy compared to them. To be born into America is to be born into the global 1%. And this is something that we don't understand. The poverty here isn't like poverty in other places. If you're somebody who grew up poor in another country, growing up poor in America seems like a dream. Imagine growing up poor in the Philippines. Imagine growing up poor in Afghanistan. Imagine growing up poor in India. You can name thousands of other countries. Imagine growing up poor in those, and it's not even comprehensible to most Americans, the level of poverty that's actually out there. And that's a gift, and it's a privilege that these aren't things that we have to confront. But in the eyes of millions of migrants who are thinking about braving the journey to America, to live here, to work here, even being poor in America sounds like a dream come true. It is the American dream. And though you may say, oh, this is just a foreign workforce coming in, and I think there's an argument to be made from that from a macro level, but to the individual perspective of these people coming in, it is a dream come true. It is the American dream. It's all about scale and perspective. So the counterpoint comes up, these people are economic migrants. Sure, you can call that what it is, but you ask why people come to America now. When immigration is cracking down the way that it is, when they're throwing out illegal migrants left and right, why would people still come to America? And that's because the American dream is here. We think it's dead, but like I said, it's not. It's just, it's dead to us because we see the American dream as lifestyle. We see it as a big house, multiple cars, being able to go on vacations all the time. We see the American dream as affluence, but the rest of the world sees the American dream as safety and security and a chance to have your kids have an education and to see them fed and to see them housed and to see them not be abused or oppressed or terrorized by their own government, though this may be a problem in the future for many of us. And though we say our civil rights and our rights have been watered down over the years, the very idea of freedom of speech, the Second Amendment, these things themselves seem ludicrous even to most people in Europe. And in America, often we just take it for granted because we don't understand these rights. We say the First Amendment's important until we're challenged on our opinions, and then we demand that the livelihoods of our opposition be thrown away. We think that they should suffer for disagreeing with us. America is changing over the years, and this is a conversation I've had recently with a Turkish immigrant who's been living here for 20 years. They came to America 20 years ago, and they talk about they came here because American people were great. America was great. It was affordable. The quality of life here was fantastic compared to Turkey. The kind of freedoms that you have here, in comparison to what they have back there at that time, it was just a dream come true. And Turkey being a place in serious turmoil right now, I think that dream does ring true still. And in sport, we're wearing our Ataturk shirt. That was a gift from a very close friend of ours. But over the 20 years, they say that everything has changed now. The people now aren't the same people as they were back then. Their attitude towards each other, towards foreigners, towards life, towards this country has changed so much that they don't even recognize the country that they moved to 20 years ago. And I think it's fair to say that most of us don't recognize the country that they live in now compared to what it was when we were children. This place is changing, but it still provides a massive amount of opportunity for the vast majority of people in the world. And that's why they come, for opportunity. It's the same reason why we came hundreds of years ago. We came here for opportunity, to start anew in a country without the same rules, without the same oppression as the one that we came from. In 2025, the American dream is alive and well. It's just changed a lot. And the people who pursue it, even though they may look different than they did hundreds of years ago, come here with the same spirit of adventure and hope that our ancestors did hundreds of years ago, and the same will and the same strength. And we may not understand that because that will and strength is something that the American people, for the most part, have lost long ago. We don't recognize ourselves anymore. We don't recognize this country. We see it as something very different. And often it's through our own entitlement that we ignore what's very special about this nation. But it's not ignored by other people in the world. And other people can still appreciate a lot of the things that America has to offer. As much as we talk about the negative sides of America in this country, and that's because those things need to be spoken about, the fact is this country is still a great country. And though it may not seem great to us, it's still great to many people in the world who can only dream of having the privileges, rights, and freedoms as we have. And that's why people are coming here in 2025. And that's why they'll come here in 2026 and 2027. And as long as America still exists, people will strive and risk their lives to come to this country. Because as long as this country stands, the American dream is alive. And this is something that we need to remember and appreciate as Americans. To be fully transparent about my beliefs on the subject, I think that it's important that I say that I used to be pretty far to the right when it comes to immigration, but exposing myself to many immigrants and becoming an immigrant myself in another country has really opened up my perspective and empathy towards the plight of many people who want to come into America. I used to say that this is our country and our country alone. America for Americans, and that's it. But the fact is, how can you tell who an American is now? The vast majority of us, our families came here 100 years ago. maybe less. And while I do believe, of course, American citizenship is incredibly important and that we should maintain and uphold the traditions and standards of America, and this is a fleeting concept to many Americans who just perceive America to be what they believe it is as an individual. My family's been here since the early 1600s, and we've been in pretty much every war there is. We fought for the British military and then the American military. We fought for the North and we fought for the South in the Civil War. I'm someone who can probably claim the right that this is my country. My family fought here and fought for it, and it's a bittersweet point of pride to have in our family. But that's not the only part of my family that came here from Europe. We didn't just come here in the 1600s. Like everyone else in this country, our family are linked to immigrants who've come here 50 years ago, 80 years ago, 100 years ago. Within living memory, many of us know ancestors who came from another country. And while it is, like I said, a challenging topic for myself to wrestle with, the fact is, those people, when they came to America 100 years ago, were met with the same hostility from people who said that they weren't real Americans, that they had no right to be here, as their descendants are now giving those who are coming in. It's a fascinating thing how we get to a good place in life, then we pull up the ladder behind us. And maybe it's just a part of human nature that makes us so harsh towards other people that we would deny them a place of safety and security and keep it all for ourselves. And as somebody who likes to look back at the past and try to understand, why our ancestors did what they did, I can honestly say that sometimes it might just be easier to talk to somebody who's coming into our country, who's kind of going through that same process that they went in a way. What drives them is the same thing that drove our ancestors. And that's a fascinating thing to try to explore by our own reasoning and logic, and what we would do if we were in their same place, to kind of escape the trauma of living in a destitute scenario, to escape tyranny, to escape war, to escape a depression. What would we do to make sure that our families are in a better place? Because most of us would say we would give our lives, or we would do anything. And that's something admirable. And we should recognize admirable qualities in those who come from other places, because those qualities that they bring over, they really do make our country a stronger place. But as I said, it's a fascinating topic, and it'll never stop. And people are always going to try to come to this country because it's a great country. And I want to thank everyone for stopping by. And on this past Easter weekend, I want to tell you guys how much I love you for being members and subscribers and supporters of this channel. What an amazing journey this has been, to be able to talk to so many of you, to learn so much, and to see that those of us from so many different backgrounds are really just trying to live the best life that we can in a country that's really making it hard to do so. Thanks for stopping by. Like and subscribe. And Logan says hi, the mascot of our channel. People say that we look alike. I don't see it. But he's a good boy. And I think I'm a good boy these days too. So I'll take it as a compliment. But yeah, thanks for stopping by, everyone. Have a good one.